Zeus was the most powerful being in existence. He used that power to hunt women, punish anyone who said no, and call it mythology. This is not a story about a god. This is a story about what happens when nobody can tell you to stop. How Zeus became a god. Cronus was king of everything: sky, earth, sea, gods, titans, all of it. He had one problem. A prophecy told him his son would do to him exactly what he had done to his own father. So his solution was simple. Every time Rhea gave birth, Cronus took the child and swallowed it. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon. One by one, Rhea had had enough. When Zeus was born, she wrapped a stone in cloth and handed it over. Cronus swallowed it without looking. She hid the actual baby in a cave in Crete, where nymphs fed him goat milk, while soldiers outside clashed their shields so Cronus would not hear a child crying down. The future king of the gods spent his infancy in a hole in the ground, because his father would have eaten him otherwise. When Zeus grew up, he went back, forced Cronus to vomit up every swallowed sibling. His brothers and sisters came out of their father's stomach ready for war. They fought the Titans for 10 years. They won. Zeus did not win because he was the strongest. He did not win because he was the wisest. He won because his mother lied, and his father was too confident to check what he was swallowing. That is the origin story of the God of Justice. A stone in a blanket. The moment nobody could stop him. The war ended. The Titans were gone. The universe needed a ruler, and Zeus was standing there with a lightning bolt and no competition. First thing he did, divide the world with his brothers. Poseidon got the sea. Hades got the underworld. Zeus got the sky. Also, apparently, everything else. Second thing he did, start going after every woman nearby. Not eventually, immediately. His first target was Metis, Titaness, goddess of wisdom, the being who had actually helped him defeat Cronus. She gave him the potion that made his father vomit up his siblings. Without Metis, there is no Zeus, no Olympus, no story. Zeus married her, then got a prophecy that her children would surpass their father. His solution was his father's solution. He swallowed Metis whole. The god who overthrew his father for swallowing children fixed that problem by swallowing his wife. He then married Themis, then Eurynome, then Demeter, then Mnemosyne, then Hera, who became his permanent wife and spent eternity watching him do to every woman what he had just done to all of them. This happened before he had time to redecorate Olympus. Power did not corrupt Zeus. He arrived like this. The power just meant nobody could do anything about it. The women who said no? Io was a priestess of Hera. She served the goddess faithfully, did nothing wrong. Zeus saw her and decided that was reason enough. When Hera got suspicious, Zeus turned Io into a cow, not to protect her, to hide the evidence. Hera asked for the cow as a gift. Zeus handed over the woman he had just assaulted, wrapped in animal form, as a present to his wife. Hera sent a gadfly to sting Io for the rest of her life. Io wandered the known world in cow form, unable to speak, unable to explain what had happened. Zeus eventually restored her in Egypt. The ancient sources call this a happy ending. The priestess who did nothing wrong spent years as a cow, being stung across 3 continents because Zeus needed to hide what he had done. Europa was a Phoenician princess. Zeus turned himself into a white bull, beautiful, gentle, impossible to fear. She climbed on his back. He walked into the sea and swam to Crete before she understood what was happening. 3 children later, the ancient sources describe her as having been chosen. Chosen is one word for it. Ganymede was a Trojan boy. the most beautiful human alive, according to every source that mentions him. Zeus turned into an eagle and took him to Olympus as cupbearer to the gods. His family got divine horses as compensation. A boy was taken and replaced with horses, and the sources call it an honor. Callisto was a follower of Artemis, goddess of the hunt. Artemis demanded chastity from her followers. Zeus disguised himself as Artemis to get close to Callisto. He assaulted her while wearing the face of the goddess she trusted most. When Callisto became pregnant, Artemis expelled her for breaking her oath. Callisto had not broken anything. Something had been taken from her while she looked at a face she trusted. Hera turned her into a bear. Her own son nearly killed her while hunting, not recognizing his mother. Zeus eventually turned them both into constellations, Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. Frozen in the sky, Greece called that a merciful ending. Persephone was Demeter's daughter. Zeus gave her to Hades without telling Demeter, without telling Persephone. He arranged his own daughter's abduction as a favor to his brother and mentioned it to no one. Demeter searched the entire earth. Crops died. Humans starved. The world nearly ended because a mother could not find her child. When the truth came out, Zeus did not apologize. He negotiated. Persephone would spend part of the year above ground, part below. Demeter accepted because it was the best offer on the table. Zeus considered it resolved. Semele was a Theban princess. She got pregnant by Zeus. Hera disguised herself as Semele's nurse and convinced her to ask Zeus to reveal his true divine form. Zeus had sworn an oath he could not break. He appeared in full divine glory. Semele was mortal. It killed her instantly, but Zeus saved the unborn child by sewing him into his own thigh. That child was Dionysus, who spent his entire existence being persecuted by Hera for what his father had done to his mother before he was born. But Semele asked to see the real Zeus. She died for it. Her son paid for it for centuries. Zeus moved on. Leda was a Spartan queen. Zeus came to her as a swan. She gave birth to eggs. From those eggs came Helen of Troy and the twins Castor and Pollux, the face that launched 1,000 ships and the war that destroyed a civilization traced directly back to Zeus arriving uninvited as a bird. Every chain of causation leads back to the same man, the same god, the same pattern. Medusa was once a beautiful woman. Poseidon assaulted her inside Athena's temple. Athena punished Medusa, snakes for hair, a gaze that turned men to stone. Poseidon got nothing. Zeus, who ran the court of divine justice, did nothing. That Medusa lost her face, her form, and eventually her head, because a more powerful god used his power in her direction. This is not the exception. Across every source, every myth, the structure is identical. Zeus wants something. Zeus takes it. The woman is transformed, punished, exiled, or killed. Zeus continues. Not once does he face a consequence. Not once. He was in charge of punishment. You see the problem? The rules were for everyone else. Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gave it to humans. He did not assault anyone. He did not take anything for himself. He looked at people freezing in the dark and decided they deserved better. Zeus chained him to a rock forever. Every day, an eagle ate his liver. Every night, it grew back. Every morning, the eagle returned. Not a sentence with an end date. Forever. For giving people warmth. The god who spent centuries hunting women across continents decided that sharing fire with cold humans was the most unforgivable act in existence. Tantalus killed his son, cooked him, and served him to the gods at dinner. A genuine crime. Zeus punished him by placing him in a pool beneath fruit trees. Every time he reached for fruit, the branches rose. Every time he bent to drink, the water dropped. Hungry and thirsty forever, with food and water always visible. This one actually makes sense. But here's the thing. Zeus punished Tantalus for what he did to a child at a dinner table. He never once applied that same logic to Io, to Callisto, to Semele, to Europa. The principle existed. Zeus understood it perfectly. He just chose when to use it. Sisyphus cheated death twice, tricked the god of death into chains, talked his way back from the underworld, lived out his full, natural life. Zeus condemned him to roll a boulder up a hill forever. Every time it neared the top, it rolled back down. Sisyphus outsmarted the system. Zeus used his position to take whatever he wanted and called it divine prerogative. The difference between them is not morality, it is power. Sisyphus had none. Zeus had all of it. That is the only reason one of them pushes a boulder and the other throws lightning from a throne. Arachne was a mortal weaver, the best in the world. She wove a tapestry depicting the gods assaulting mortals, every scene, every woman, every crime. She wove it perfectly. Athena turned her into a spider. The tapestry was accurate. That was the problem. Not the craft, not the pride. The accuracy. The gods could do anything. The one thing they could not tolerate was someone showing it clearly enough that nobody could look away. Arachne looked directly at what Zeus was, and put it on a loom. She spins webs forever now. Asclepius was the god of medicine. He got so good he started bringing the dead back to life. Zeus killed him with a lightning bolt. Official reason? Disrupting the natural order. The god who arranged the Trojan War, sent plagues, flooded coastlines whenever his mood required it, that god killed the one being trying to undo death, because it was overstepping. Apollo, furious, killed the Cyclopes who forged Zeus's lightning bolts. Zeus was going to execute him for it. Leto begged for mercy. Zeus commuted it to 1 year as a mortal shepherd. Apollo spent a year as a shepherd for avenging his dead son. Zeus spent eternity doing whatever he wanted. That is the moral system of Olympus in 2 sentences. The father of gods and men, mostly men he had never met. Zeus had somewhere between 50 and 92 known children, depending on which source you read. Some scholars go higher. The exact number is impossible because Zeus probably lost track. He was present for almost none of their lives. Hercules was the greatest hero Greece produced, half god, half mortal. Zeus was his father in the biological sense only. He showed up for the conception, disappeared after, and did not return until Hercules had already ground through most of his 12 labors alone. Hera spent Hercules' entire life trying to kill him. Snakes in the cradle, madness that made him murder his own wife and children, 12 labors designed to get him killed, decades of sustained hatred. Zeus watched and did nothing. He had the power to end it on day 1. He chose not to. Hercules suffered his whole life, carried guilt that never left him, and his father could have stopped it at any point. When Hercules finally died, poisoned, burned alive on his own funeral pyre, Zeus appeared, swept him to Olympus, made him a god. He showed up for the ending. He missed everything else. Perseus grew up poor on an island with no father and no help from above. When he needed to kill Medusa, Athena helped. Hermes helped. Nymphs helped. Zeus sent nothing. Perseus killed the monster, saved Andromeda, defeated a sea creature, accidentally killed his grandfather with a discus at athletic games, and built a kingdom. Zeus was not there for any of it. Perseus did not need him. That might be the whole point. Dionysus was the son of Semele, the woman Zeus killed by appearing in his true form. Zeus saved the infant by sewing him into his own thigh, then handed him off to others and left. Hera found Dionysus and drove him insane. He wandered the earth, spreading the cult of wine and ecstasy, before eventually being restored. He descended into the underworld to retrieve his dead mother and brought her to Olympus. Dionysus saved his mother. His father had accidentally killed her and moved on. Apollo and Artemis were twins born to Leto. Hera banned every land from letting Leto give birth. Leto wandered the world in labor, unable to find ground that would take her. She eventually found a floating island that technically did not count as land. She gave birth there, alone, in pain, with no help from the father of her children. Zeus did not appear. Hephaestus was thrown off Olympus as an infant. Some sources say Hera threw him for being born lame. Others say Zeus threw him during an argument. Either way, a child was thrown from a mountain and landed hard enough to break his legs permanently. He grew up to be the greatest craftsman in existence. He built Olympus, forged armor for the gods, made everything beautiful on the mountain where his parents lived. He was never fully accepted there. The child they threw off came back and built them a palace. Zeus lived in it and never mentioned what had happened. Helen of Troy was Zeus's daughter. Her existence caused the Trojan War. Thousands died because Zeus had visited Leda as a swan. He spent the war watching from above and intervening on whichever side suited him that particular day. He never acknowledged the war existed because of him. Every myth, every child, the same pattern. Zeus created life and walked away. He appeared for conceptions and for apotheoses. The suffering in between, the labors, the madness, the wandering, the wars, happened while he sat on a mountain and threw lightning at people who annoyed him. He was not a father. He was a biological event with divine consequences. The children who survived did so because other gods helped them, because mortals helped them, because they were strong enough alone, not because their father was watching. He was never watching. The war he started and pretended to judge. The Trojan War started at a wedding. Eris, goddess of discord, was not invited to the wedding of Peleus and Thetis. She came anyway and threw a golden apple into the crowd. 3 words on it, for the fairest. Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite each immediately decided it was theirs. Zeus was asked to judge which goddess was most beautiful. He said no. Not because he was wise, because all 3 were his relatives, and he did not want the dinner table fallout. He sent the decision to Paris, a Trojan prince with no power, no stake, and no way to enforce whatever he decided. Each goddess bribed him. Hera offered kingdoms, Athena offered battle skill. Aphrodite offered the most beautiful woman alive. Paris chose Aphrodite. He chose Helen. Helen was already married to Menelaus, king of Sparta. Paris took her to Troy. Menelaus called in every favor owed by every king in Greece. 1,000 ships, 10 years, tens of thousands dead. Troy burned to the ground. Zeus handed that to a mortal because he did not want an awkward dinner. Once the war started, Zeus pretended to be neutral. He was not neutral. He had children on both sides. He sat on Mount Ida and watched, intervening whenever sentiment or obligation, or whichever goddess had most recently cornered him, moved him to act. Thetis asked Zeus to make the Greeks suffer a while so her son Achilles would get the recognition he deserved. Zeus agreed. He arranged Greek losses specifically so one man would feel appreciated. Thousands of soldiers died in battles Zeus engineered to resolve an argument between Achilles and Agamemnon about a woman. Sarpedon was Zeus's son, a Trojan fighter. When the moment came that he was fated to die, Zeus thought about saving him. Hera talked him out of it. If Zeus saved his son, every god would want to save theirs. The structure of fate would collapse. Zeus cried golden tears and let Sarpedon die. The same god who had spent centuries breaking every rule imaginable drew the line at saving his own child because the rules required it. The rules that never applied to him suddenly mattered when it was convenient. Hector was the best Trojan warrior, loyal husband, devoted father. He knew Troy would fall and fought anyway because his family was inside the walls. When Achilles finally came for him, Zeus weighed both men on the scales of fate. Hector's side dropped. Zeus stepped aside. The god of justice weighed a good man's life against a demigod's rage and did nothing. When Troy fell, Zeus watched. Priam murdered at his own altar. Women handed out as prizes. Children thrown from the walls. Everything inside that city erased in one night. Zeus had started the chain with a visit to Leda, accelerated it by refusing a beauty contest, prolonged it by intervening on both sides. He watched the ending from above and called it fate. It was not fate. It was the accumulated consequences of decisions he made, avoided, and deflected for decades. Thousands of people paid for it with their lives. Zeus called it the will of the fates and moved on. He was very good at moving on. The verdict. Here's what Zeus actually was. Not the protector of justice, not a father in any real sense of the word, not the wise ruler who kept the cosmos in order. Zeus was the most powerful being in existence, who used that power to make sure no rule he made ever applied to himself. That is it. That is the whole story. Every civilization needs a god of justice, a force above human weakness that holds the line. Greece built that god, and then spent 3,000 years writing stories about him doing the opposite of justice and calling it divine will. Prometheus gave fire to freezing humans. An eagle ate his liver every morning for eternity. His crime was generosity. Zeus hunted women across continents, transformed them into animals, handed them to his wife as gifts, and never once stood in front of anyone and answered for it. His reward was a throne, a lightning bolt, and the title of King of the Gods. The gap between those two outcomes is not justice, it is power. Raw, permanent power that answered to nothing, because there was nothing left that could make it answer. Cronus swallowed his children because a prophecy said his son would do to him what he had done to his father. He was right. Zeus took everything Cronus had and used it the same way, without restraint, without consequence, without once asking whether what he was doing was right. The son became the father. The cycle closed perfectly. The only difference was that nobody came for Zeus with a potion and a stone in cloth. Nobody came for Zeus at all. The Greeks knew this. They were not naive. They read the same myths. They saw the same patterns. They built temples anyway, prayed anyway, put him at the top of everything anyway. Not because they thought he was good, because he was powerful, and the universe he ran was the only one available. That is not faith. That is a clear-eyed read on the situation. You do not have to believe someone is, just to understand they control the lightning. You do not have to respect someone to know that crossing them goes badly. The Greeks worshipped Zeus the way people have always deferred to power that cannot be questioned, not with love, with calculation. The myths were not advertisements for Zeus. They were warnings. Every story about what happened to women who crossed his path, every account of humans who attracted his attention, every tale of children raised without him, and heroes who survived despite him. All of it was Greece writing down honestly what power does when nothing stops it. It hunts. It takes. It moves on. It calls itself justice because it controls the definition of the word. Zeus was the most powerful being in existence. He used that power to hunt women, punish anyone who said no, and call it mythology. This is not a story about a god. This is a story about what happens when nobody can tell you to stop.